Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm went off. The sound cut through the quiet air of New Haven Colony like a knife. He put down his cup and ran to the control room. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. "What's happening?" Jake asked as he rushed into the room. Amy Rodriguez was sitting at the big computer screen. Her face looked worried. "Something big crashed in the North Canyon," Amy said. She pointed at the screen. "The sensors show it's huge." "Maybe a ship." Jake looked at the numbers on the screen. Whatever had crashed was bigger than anything they had ever seen. New Haven was a small mining colony. They only had 200 people living there. Most crashes were small rocks from space or broken. "Satellites. Get the rescue team ready," Jake said. "Then call Dr. Barnes. If there are people hurt, we'll need her." 30 minutes later, Jake was riding in a hover truck toward the crash site. Ben Tucker drove the truck. Ben was the head of security for the colony. Dr. Lisa Barnes sat in the back with her medical kit. 2 other workers came with them. The ride took them through the mining fields where big machines dug holes in the ground. The machines looked like sleeping giants in the morning light. New Haven had been mining rare metals for 10 years. The work was hard, but the pay was good. "Look at that," Ben said. As they came over a hill dot in the valley below, they could see a huge crater in the ground. Smoke was rising from it. Something big and dark lay in the middle of the crater. It was not moving. "That's no ship," Dr. Barnes said. She was looking through small glasses that made things look bigger. "It's alive." Jake took the glasses from her. What he saw made his mouth fall open. The thing in the crater had wings. Big wings that were torn and burned. It had a long neck and a body covered in what looked like metal scales. But the scales were not metal. They were part of the creature's skin. "It's like a dragon," Jake said quietly. Ben stopped the truck at the edge of the crater. They all got out and walked down the steep sides. The ground was still warm from the crash. Pieces of rock and metal were scattered everywhere. As they got closer, Jake could see that the creature was breathing. Its chest went up and down very slowly. The dragon was huge. Its body was longer than 3 trucks put together. Its wings were bigger than a house. "It's hurt bad," Dr. Barnes said. She opened her medical kit and took out a scanner. The scanner beeped as she held it near the dragon's head. "I'm reading massive internal damage. Burns from some kind of energy." "Weapon?" The dragon's eyes opened. They were bright blue and seemed to glow from inside. Jake felt something strange in his head. It was like someone was trying to talk to him without using words. Pictures appeared in Jake's mind. He saw a beautiful world with crystal cities and flying creatures like this dragon. Then he saw dark ships in space. The ships were shooting at the dragons. Many dragons were falling and dying. "Did you see that?" Dr. Barnes asked. Her voice was shaking. "You saw it too?" Jake asked. Ben and the other workers nodded. They had all seen the same pictures in their minds. The dragon tried to lift its head. Jake could see pain in its blue eyes. More pictures came into his mind. This time, he saw the dragon flying through space. It was running from something. It was hurt and scared. Dr. Barnes was scanning different parts of the dragon's body. "There's something else," she said. "I'm reading 3 smaller life signs inside the creature." "Inside?" Jake asked. Dr. Barnes pointed to a spot on the dragon's chest. The scales there were different. They formed a pouch that was slightly open. "I think there are babies in there." Jake looked closer. He could see movement inside the pouch. 3 small shapes were moving slowly. The dragon made a soft sound. It was trying to communicate again. This time the pictures were clearer. Jake saw the 3 small dragons. They were the last ones. All the other dragons were dead. The dark ships had killed them all. "She's a mother," Dr. Barnes said. and those are her children. The dragon's breathing was getting weaker. Dr. Barnes worked quickly with her medical tools, but she shook her head. I can't help her. The damage is too great. Whatever weapon hit her, it's destroying her from the inside. Jake knelt down next to the dragon's head. The big creature looked at him with its glowing eyes. More pictures filled his mind. He saw the dark ships coming to this world. They were looking for the baby dragons. They wanted to kill them too. She's trying to tell us something, Jake said. The pictures in his mind became urgent. The dragon was showing him the baby dragons again and again. Then she showed him humans taking care of them, feeding them, protecting them. She wants us to save her babies, Dr. Barnes said. The dragon made another soft sound. This one sounded like agreement. Her eyes began to close. Wait, Jake said. What are those ships? What do they want? New pictures came. Jake saw the dark ships attacking many different worlds. They destroyed everything. Cities burned. People ran and screamed. The ships hunted down every living thing and killed it. Dragon showed him one word in his mind. It was in a language he didn't know, but somehow he understood it. Void Swarm. They're coming here, Dr. Barnes said. She had seen the pictures too. They followed her here. The dragon's breathing stopped. Her bright blue eyes went dark. The great creature was dead. Jake stood up slowly. His mind was still, full of the pictures the dragon had shown him. The baby dragons were still alive in their mother's pouch, but the void swarm was coming to kill them. We need to get those babies out of there, Dr. Barnes said. She was already moving toward the pouch. Ben grabbed Jake's arm. Are you sure about this? We don't know anything about these creatures. Jake looked at the dead dragon. Even in death, she looked noble and beautiful. She had used her last strength to ask them for help. She had trusted them with the most important thing in her life. She died trying to save them, Jake said. We can't let that be for nothing. Dr. Barnes carefully opened the pouch. Inside were 3 small dragons. They were about the size of cats. Their scales were soft, and their eyes were closed. They were breathing, but very weak. They're beautiful, Dr. Barnes said softly. She carefully lifted one of the babies. It made a small sound like a kitten. Can you save them? Jake asked. I think so, Dr. Barnes said. But they'll need constant care. And if what we saw is true, we need to prepare for those ships. Jake looked up at the sky. It was blue and peaceful. But somewhere out there, the void swarm was coming. They had destroyed entire worlds. They had killed all the dragons except these 3 babies. We better get back to the colony, Ben said. If those ships are really coming, we need to get ready. They carefully carried the 3 baby dragons back to the hover truck. Dr. Barnes held them gently in a special medical container. The babies made soft sounds as the truck moved. Jake took one last look at the dead dragon in the crater. We'll protect them, he said quietly. I promise. As they drove back to New Haven, Jake thought about what they had learned. The dragon race was almost extinct. Evil ships were hunting down the last survivors. And now 3 helpless babies were depending on humans to keep them safe. Jake didn't know how they would fight the void swarm. New Haven was just a mining colony. They had no weapons that could fight spaceships. But the dragon had trusted them. She had believed that humans would protect her children. Jake Morrison was not going to let her down. 3 days had passed since they found the dragon and her babies. Dr. Barnes had been working day and night to keep the 3 small dragons alive. She had set up a special room in the medical center with warm lights and soft blankets. The baby dragons were getting stronger each day. Jake Morrison named them Hope, Faith, and Courage. Hope was the smallest, but the most active. Faith was quiet and seemed to watch everything with bright eyes. Courage was the biggest and made soft sounds. When people came near, "They're learning fast," Dr. Barnes told Jake as they watched the babies. "Too fast. Yesterday, Hope couldn't lift her head. Today, she's trying to fly." Jake smiled as he watched Hope flap her tiny wings. The baby dragon could only fly for a few seconds before getting tired, but she kept trying. "Maybe that's good," Jake said. "If those ships come, we'll need all the help we can get." The alarm went off again. This time, it was much louder than before. Jake and Dr. Barnes ran to the control room. Amy Rodriguez was at her station looking scared. "Jake, you need to see this," Amy said. She pointed at the big screen. Long-range sensors picked up something coming toward us. On the screen, Jake could see dots moving through space. There were many of them, too many to count easily. "How many?" "Ships?" Jake asked. 12 big ones," Amy said. "And maybe 50 smaller ones. They're huge, Jake. Each big ship is the size of a city." Rick Hayes, the colony's defense coordinator, was already at his station. Rick was an older man who had been a soldier before coming to New Haven. He was studying the numbers on his screen. "They'll be here in 6 hours," Rick said. "These ships are moving faster than anything I've ever seen." Jake felt his stomach drop. The void swarm was really coming, just like the dragon had shown them. "What do we have for defense?" Jake asked. Rick's face was grim. "Not much. We have 12 plasma turrets around the colony. They're meant to stop pirates, not an invasion fleet. We have 50 security people with rifles. The rest are miners and families." "Can we evacuate?" Dr. Barnes asked. "The nearest human world is 3 months away," Amy said. "Even if we called for help right now, no one could get here in time." Jake looked around the control room. Everyone was scared. New Haven was just a peaceful mining colony. They had never expected to fight a war. "What about Earth Command?" Jake asked. Amy shook her head. "I sent a message yesterday when the sensors first detected the ships. The nearest military fleet is 6 months away. We're on our own." Rick pulled up pictures of the approaching ships. On the main screen, the ships looked like they were made of metal and flesh mixed together. They had long arms coming out of the sides with weapons on the ends. The front of each ship looked like a mouthful of teeth. "Those are the same ships the dragon showed us," Dr. Barnes said quietly. Jake made a decision. "Send a message to everyone in the colony. Tell them to come to the main hall in 1 hour. We need to talk." An hour later, almost everyone in New Haven was crowded into the main hall. Jake stood in front of them. He could see fear in their faces. These were good people who just wanted to work and live in peace. "By now you all know that ships are coming," Jake said. "Hostile ships. They'll be here in 5 hours. A woman in the back raised her hand. "Can we surrender? Maybe they just want our mining equipment." Jake shook his head. "They don't want our equipment. They want to kill the dragon babies we found." He told them everything. About the dragon's telepathic messages. About how the void swarm had destroyed entire worlds. About how they hunted dragons to extinction. "The mother dragon trusted us to protect her children," Jake said. "She died believing that we would keep them safe." An old miner named Carl Douglas stood up. "Jake, we're not soldiers. We're just mining people. How can we fight ships that big?" "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "But I know we can't give up those babies. They're innocent. They never hurt anyone." Ben Tucker stepped forward. "I'm with Jake. I saw what that mother dragon went through. She flew across space while dying just to find someone to save her children. We can't let her down." One by one, other people stood up. Paul Green, the chief engineer, nodded. "We've got mining. Explosives. Maybe we can use them as weapons." Mary Wilson, who ran the colony school, spoke up. "My students helped name those baby dragons. Hope, faith, and courage. Those names mean something. We can't abandon hope now. Soon almost everyone in the hall was standing. Even the people who were scared decided to stay and fight. "All right," Jake said. "We have 5 hours to get ready. Rick, what's our plan?" Rick Hayes had been thinking while Jake talked to the colonists. "We can't fight them in space. Our only chance is to make them come down to the planet. Then we use the mining tunnels as cover." Paul Green nodded. "We can rig explosives in the canyons. Turn our own home into a trap." "What about the dragon babies?" Dr. Barnes asked. "We move them deep underground," Jake said, "to the old mining shafts. They'll be safe there." The next few hours were busy. Everyone worked together to prepare for battle. The men moved weapons and supplies into the underground tunnels. The women and children helped carry food and medical supplies to safe places. Paul Green and his engineering team worked to turn mining equipment into weapons. They attached explosives to mining charges. They rigged the plasma turrets to work from the tunnels. Dr. Barnes carefully moved hope, faith, and courage to a deep underground chamber. The baby dragons seemed to sense that something was wrong. They made worried sounds and stayed close together. "It's okay," Dr. Barnes told them softly. "We're going to protect you." As she spoke, Hope looked directly at her. The baby dragon's eyes seemed to glow. Suddenly, Dr. Barnes felt something in her mind. It was like the telepathic communication from the mother dragon, but gentler. Hope was trying to say thank you. 2 hours before the ships arrived, Rick Hayes gathered all the fighters in the main tunnel. 50 security people with rifles, 30 miners with makeshift weapons, even some teenagers who insisted on helping. "Listen up," Rick said. "These things have destroyed entire civilizations. They're stronger than us and have better weapons. But they don't know our tunnels. They don't know how stubborn humans can be." Steve Palmer, a 17-year-old apprentice miner, raised his hand. "What if we can't stop them?" Rick looked at the young man seriously. "Then we make them pay for every step. We make them remember that humans don't give up easy." Jake Morrison stood up. "I want everyone to know something. The dragon babies are not just animals. They're intelligent. Maybe more intelligent than us. The mother dragon showed us that they might be the key to stopping the void swarm forever." "What do you mean?" Ben Tucker asked. "I'm not sure yet," Jake said. "But Dr. Barnes has been studying them. They're growing and learning faster than should be possible. And they seem to have abilities we don't understand." Amy Rodriguez's voice came over the radio. "Jake, the ships are here. They're entering orbit now." Everyone in the tunnel went quiet. Above them, death had arrived at New Haven. "Positions, everyone," Rick said. "And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for 3 baby dragons who never had a chance to live." As the colonists moved to their positions, Jake thought about the dragon mother. She had died trusting humans to protect her children. Now it was time to see if that trust was justified. The battle for New Haven was about to begin. The first attack came at dawn. Jake Morrison was in the main tunnel when the ground shook above them. Dust fell from the ceiling as explosion after explosion hit the surface. "They're bombing the colony buildings," Amy Rodriguez said over the radio. Her voice was shaking. "Everything above ground is being destroyed." Jake looked around at the 50 people crowded in the tunnel with him. Miners, security guards, teachers, and even teenagers. They all looked scared but determined. "Good thing we moved underground," Ben Tucker said. He was checking his rifle for the 10th time. "Let them waste their shots on empty buildings." Rick Hayes was studying a small screen that showed what was happening above. 12 ships in orbit. They're taking turns bombing us, but they're not using their biggest weapons yet. "Why not?" Jake asked. "Because they want something alive down." Here, Rick said. They want those dragon babies. Another explosion shook the tunnel. This one was closer. Rocks fell from the walls. They're sending down landing parties, Amy said. Small ships heading for the North Canyon. That's where we found the mother dragon, Dr. Barnes said. She had just come up from the deep tunnels where the baby dragons were hidden. Maybe they can track her scent. Paul Green and his team had been busy all night. They had rigged explosives throughout the canyon system. Let them land there, Paul said with a grim smile. We have a surprise waiting, the radio crackled. First landing party is down, Amy reported. Looks like 50 of them. They're moving toward the main colony site. Rick gathered his fighters. Time to go to work. Remember, hit them fast and get back to the tunnels. Don't try to be heroes. Jake wanted to go with them, but Rick stopped him. You need to stay here. If something happens to me, you're in charge. Ben Tucker led the first team out through a hidden tunnel exit. Jake watched them disappear into the morning light. Then he waited. 20 minutes later, the sound of gunfire echoed through the tunnels. It went on for 10 minutes. Then everything went quiet. Ben, report, Rick said into his radio. We got some of them. Ben's voice came back. But Jake, these things are not normal. They look like machines mixed with dead bodies. And they're hard to kill. How hard? Rick asked. I put 3 rifle shots into one of them. It kept coming. Carl had to blow it up with a mining charge. Jake felt his stomach tighten. The Void Swarm soldiers were stronger than they had expected. We're pulling back to position 2, Ben said. They're following us into the canyon. Paul Green was listening to everything on the radio. Get ready, he told his team. When they reach the marked rocks, we blow the charges. More gunfire came from outside. Jake could hear it getting closer to the tunnel entrance. Then Paul shouted, Now! The explosion was huge. Even deep in the tunnel, Jake felt the shock wave. Dust and small rocks fell everywhere. The lights went out for a moment. Did we get them? Jake asked. Ben's voice came over the radio, excited. You got most of them. The whole side of the canyon came down. I count maybe 10 still moving. Good work, everyone, Rick said. Fall back to the tunnels. Let them think we're running scared. As Ben's team came back underground, Jake could see. They had been in a real fight. Their clothes were torn and dirty. 2 men were wounded, but still walking. What do these swarm soldiers look like? Jake asked. Like nightmares, said Carl Douglas. The old miner's face was pale. They have metal parts stuck into dead flesh. Some have extra arms. Some have weapons built into their bodies. And their eyes glow red. Dr. Barnes was treating the wounded men. Sounds like they take dead bodies and turn them into machines, she said. No wonder they're hard to kill. The radio crackled again. More ships coming down, Amy reported. This time they're landing all around the colony. Looks like 200. Soldiers. Rick studied his map of the tunnel system. They're trying to surround us. But they don't know about all the tunnel entrances. We can hit them from places they don't expect. Jake made a decision. I'm going to check on the dragon babies. If these things can track scent, maybe the babies can help us somehow. He took Ben Tucker with him and went down to the deep tunnels. The baby dragons were in a chamber that had been a mining storage room. Dr. Barnes had made it warm and comfortable with blankets and heat lamps. When Jake entered the room, all 3 baby dragons looked at him. Their eyes were brighter than before. Hope, the smallest one, made a soft sound and walked toward him. Suddenly, Jake felt something in his mind. It was like the telepathic communication from the mother dragon, but different. Stronger and clearer, pictures flooded into his head. He saw the swarm soldiers moving through the tunnels above, but he was seeing them through the baby dragons' mind. Hope could sense where they were. Ben, Jake said, grabbing his friend's arm. Hope can see them? She knows where the swarm soldiers are. Ben looked confused. What do you mean? Jake closed his eyes and concentrated on the connection with Hope. The pictures became clearer. He could see 12 swarm soldiers moving through the north tunnel. Another group of 8 was near the main entrance. She's like a living radar, Jake said. He grabbed his radio. Rick, this is Jake. I know where they are. Jake told Rick exactly where each group of swarm soldiers was located. Rick couldn't believe it at first, but when his scouts confirmed the information was correct, he started using it to plan attacks. Hit the group of 8 first, Jake said, watching the pictures in his mind. They're separated from the others. Rick's team attacked exactly where Jake told them to. They caught the swarm soldiers by surprise and destroyed them all before they could call for help. How are you doing this? Rick asked over the radio. The baby dragon is helping us, Jake said. She can sense where they are. As the day went on, the humans started winning small battles. Every time the swarm soldiers tried to move through the tunnels, Hope would warn Jake. Rick's fighters would be waiting for them, but Jake noticed something else. Each time Hope used her abilities, she seemed to get stronger. Her eyes glowed brighter. Her telepathic connection with him became clearer. Faith and Courage were changing too. Faith seemed to be watching everything very carefully, like she was learning. Courage was the biggest and strongest, but he stayed close to his sisters. By afternoon, the swarm had lost almost half of their ground forces. The ships in orbit started bombing harder. The tunnel entrances began to collapse. They're getting angry, Ben said as another explosion shook the tunnels. Good, Jake said. Angry. Enemies make mistakes. But then Amy's voice came over the radio with bad news. Jake, I'm reading more ships coming from space. Looks like the main swarm fleet. Jake felt his heart sink. How many? At least 50 ships. Big ones. They'll be here in 2 hours. Rick gathered everyone in the main tunnel. We've done good work today. But if 50 more ships come, we can't hold them off. Jake looked around at the tired, dirty faces of the colonists. They had fought hard all day, but they were just regular people with mining equipment and rifles. Maybe it's time to think about surrender, said Mary Wilson quietly. No, said 17-year-old Steve Palmer. We promised to protect the baby dragons. We don't give up on promises. Jake felt the telepathic connection with Hope getting stronger. The baby dragon was trying to tell him something important. Pictures filled his mind, but these were different. They showed Hope and her sisters, but older and bigger. They showed dragons flying in space, fighting the swarm ships. Hope was showing him what they could become if they survived. We're not giving up, Jake said firmly. Those baby dragons are counting on us, and I think they might be our only chance to stop the swarm forever. The battle for New Haven was far from over. The swarm fleet arrived just as the sun was setting. Jake Morrison watched from a hidden tunnel entrance as 50 massive ships filled the sky above New Haven. Each ship was bigger than the colony itself. They blotted out the stars. They're not bombing us anymore, Rick Hayes said over the radio. They're just sitting there. Jake hurried back to the deep tunnels where the baby dragons were hidden. Hope, Faith, and Courage were all awake and looking scared. Their eyes were glowing brighter than ever before. Something's wrong, Dr. Barnes said. She was checking the baby dragons with her medical scanner. Their heart rates are very high. And look at this. She showed Jake the scanner readings. They're growing. I mean really growing. Hope has gained 2 pounds since this morning. That should be impossible. Jake knelt down next to Hope. The baby dragon looked at him with intelligent eyes. Suddenly, his mind filled with new pictures. These were not like the simple images from before. These were complex thoughts and feelings. Hope was trying to tell him something very important. Jake saw images of the mother dragon when she was young. He saw her learning to use special powers. Powers that could affect machines and technology. Powers that could disrupt the swarm's weapons. The dragons are not just intelligent animals, Jake said slowly. They're living weapons, created to fight the swarm. Ben Tucker had been listening. What do you mean? The mother dragon's people made the dragons to be guardians, to protect other species from the swarm. But the dragons can only use their full power when they bond with another intelligent species. Dr. Barnes looked up from her scanner. Bond how? Jake felt Hope's thoughts becoming clearer in his mind. They have to trust someone completely, share their life force with them. It's dangerous for both the dragon and the person. More pictures came from Hope. Jake saw dragons from long ago bonding with different alien species. Some bonds worked and created great power. Others failed, and both the dragon and the person died. The dragon's previous guardians were afraid of this power, Jake said. They kept it secret. They never let the dragons reach their full potential. But humans are different, Dr. Barnes said, understanding. We're not afraid to take risks to protect others. Faith suddenly made a sound. She was looking at Ben Tucker with bright eyes. Jake felt her trying to communicate too. Faith wants to bond with Ben, Jake said. Ben looked nervous. What does that mean exactly? It means sharing your thoughts, your feelings, maybe even your life, Jake said. It could kill you. Or it could make you both more powerful than anything the swarm has. Before Ben could answer, the radio crackled. Amy Rodriguez's voice was urgent. The swarm is sending down a message. They want to talk. Jake grabbed his radio, put it through. A strange voice filled the tunnel. It sounded like metal scraping against metal. Humans of the mining colony. We know you have the last. Dragon spawn. Give them to us, and we will let you live. Jake took the radio. This is Jake Morrison. We don't make deals with murderers. You do not understand, the swarm voice said. The dragons are weapons of mass destruction. They must be eliminated for the safety of the galaxy. The only mass destruction I see is what you've done to entire worlds, Jake replied. We offer you one final chance. Surrender the spawn in 1 hour, or we will crack this planet like an egg. The communication ended. Jake looked around at the frightened faces of his people. 1 hour, Rick said grimly. They mean it, Jake. Those ships up there could destroy this whole world. Jake felt Hope's mind touching his again. The baby dragon was showing him something new. She was not afraid anymore. She was determined. Hope wants to try the bonding, Jake said. She's ready. Are you sure? Dr. Barnes asked. We don't know. What will happen? Jake thought about the mother dragon. She had trusted humans with her children's lives. Now her children were ready to trust humans with their own power. If we don't try, we all die anyway, Jake said. At least this way, we have a chance. Steve Palmer stepped forward. The 17-year-old had been helping take care of the baby dragons. I want to bond with Courage, he said. Steve, you're just a kid, Ben said. I'm old enough to make my own choice, Steve replied firmly. Courage trusts me. I can feel it. Dr. Barnes ran more scans on the baby dragons. Their genetic structure is changing. They're becoming something new, something that's never existed before. What do you mean? Jake asked. The mother dragon and her people were created by an ancient civilization. But these babies are different. They're evolving, becoming more than their creators intended. Jake understood, because they're bonding with humans. We're changing them, and they're changing us. The bonding process was simpler than Jake had expected. He sat on the floor with Hope in his lap. Ben sat with Faith. Steve held Courage gently. Just open your minds, Dr. Barnes said. Let them in. Jake closed his eyes and stopped fighting the telepathic connection. Instead of just seeing pictures, he felt Hope's emotions. Her fear, her hope, her trust in him. Then something amazing happened. Jake could feel Hope's thoughts joining with his own, not replacing them, but mixing with them. He could see through her eyes, feel what she felt, and she could do the same. With him, that power flowed between them. Jake felt stronger, smarter, more aware. He could sense things he had never noticed before. The electrical systems in the tunnels, the metal in the walls, even the swarm ships far above, and gasped as his bonding. With faith completed. "I can feel everything," he said in wonder. Every piece of metal, every machine. Steve's eyes were wide as courage bonded with him. "He's showing me the future," Steve said. "Different possible futures. Most of them are bad, but some are good." Jake stood up, and hope stayed connected to his mind. The baby dragon was still small, but Jake could feel the power growing inside both of them. "The dragons can disrupt swarm technology," Jake said. "Their ships, their weapons, even their soldiers. But only if we work together." Dr. Barnes was scanning all three bonded pairs. "Your brain activity has increased by 300%. Your reflexes are faster. Your strength is greater. And the dragons are growing even faster now." As if to prove her point, Hope spread her wings. They were twice as big as they had been an hour ago. "We need to get to the surface," Jake said. "The swarm deadline is in 20 minutes. Rick Hayes gathered the remaining fighters. What's the plan?" Jake could feel Hope's thoughts mixing with his own human creativity. "We're going to do something the swarm has never seen before. We're going to turn their own technology against them." "How?" Rick asked. "The dragons can interfere with their control systems, make their ships fight each other, shut down their weapons. But we need to get close enough to the command ship." Ben was testing his new abilities with Faith. He touched a broken mining robot, and it suddenly came to life. "Faith can control machines," he said, amazed. Steve was concentrating with courage. "I can see what's going to happen," he said. "The swarm commander is in the big ship in the center. If we can reach it, we can stop the whole fleet." "That's impossible," Rick said. "Those ships are in orbit. We can't fly." Jake smiled. He could feel Hope's confidence flowing through their bond. "Who says we can't fly?" As they prepared to leave the tunnels, Jake thought about how much had changed in just 1 week. They had started as simple miners and colonists. Now they were bonded with alien dragons, preparing to fight an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. But they were still human, still the same people who had refused to abandon 3 helpless baby dragons. Time to show the swarm what humans are really made of, Jake said. The final battle was about to begin. Jake Morrison felt his feet leave the ground. Hope's wings had grown large enough to carry him, and their bond made flying feel as natural as walking. Below them, New Haven looked small and damaged from the swarm bombing. "This is impossible," Ben Tucker said through the radio. Faith was carrying him through the air beside Jake. The dragon's wings beat silently as they climbed toward the dark ships above. "Everything about today is impossible," Jake replied. He could feel Hope's excitement mixing with his own determination. The baby dragon was no longer small. In just a few hours, she had grown to the size of a horse. Steve Palmer and Courage flew. Behind them, the 17-year-old looked scared but determined. "I can see the future's changing," Steve said. "The swarm doesn't expect this. They think dragons can't fly in space. Can we?" Jake asked Hope through their mental link. Hope showed him images of her mother flying between worlds. Dragons could survive in space for short periods, long enough to reach the command ship. That 50 swarm ships hung in the sky like metal vultures. Each one was huge and covered with weapons. The command ship in the center was the biggest. It looked like a twisted cathedral made of black metal and dead flesh. "That's where we need to go," Jake said, pointing at the command ship dot. As they flew higher, the air got thinner. Jake could feel Hope using her power to create a bubble of breathable air around them. The other dragons did the same for their bonded partners. "Energy signatures detected," came a mechanical voice from the swarm ships. "Dragon spawn confirmed. All weapons target the flying creatures." Suddenly, the sky filled with bright beams of energy. The swarm ships were shooting at them with everything they had. "Here we go," Jake said. He felt Hope's mind touch his as she used her power. The energy beams began to curve and miss their targets. Hope was bending the electromagnetic fields that controlled the weapons. The shots went wild, some hitting other swarm ships by accident. "Their weapons are confused," Ben said. Faith was doing the same thing, making the ship's targeting systems malfunction. Steve and Courage were helping too. "I can see which shots will hit us," Steve called out. "Dodge left now." They flew through the storm of confused energy beams. Several swarm ships accidentally shot each other as their weapon systems failed. "Impossible," the mechanical voice said. "Dragons cannot interfere with our technology." "These aren't the same dragons you fought before," Jake said into his radio, knowing the swarm could hear him. "These are something new." They reached the command ship. It was even bigger up close, covered with spikes and weapon ports. Jake could see windows that glowed with red light. "How do we get inside?" Ben asked. Faith answered by phasing through the ship's hull. Her new power let her become like a ghost, passing through solid metal. She carried Ben with her. Hope and Courage couldn't phase like Faith, but they had other abilities. Hope used her power to disrupt the ship's hull, making it soft like clay. She and Jake pushed through the metal wall. Inside the command ship, everything was dark and twisted. The walls were made of machinery mixed with organic parts. It smelled like death and oil. "Which way to the command center?" Jake asked. Steve closed his eyes and concentrated with Courage. "Up 3 levels, then straight ahead. But there are guards." They moved through the ship's corridors. The guards were the same biomechanical creatures they had fought on the planet, but bigger and more heavily armed. "Let me handle this," Ben said. Faith spread her wings and made a sound like metal singing. Suddenly, all the guards stopped moving. Their mechanical parts had shut down. "Faith can control any machine," Ben said with amazement, "even if it's part of a living body." They reached the command center. It was a huge room with screens covering the walls. In the center sat a creature that made Jake's stomach turn. It had once been alive, but now it was more machine than flesh. Cables and wires grew out of its head like metal hair. "So," the creature said without turning around, "the last dragons have found new guardians. Humans. How disappointing." "Why?" Jake asked. "Because we're not afraid to fight back?" The creature turned. Its face was half metal, half rotted flesh. "Because you do not understand what you are protecting. Dragons are not gentle creatures. They are weapons that destroyed entire star systems." "That's a lie," Steve said. Courage showed him images of the dragon homeworld. It had been beautiful and peaceful. "Is it?" the creature asked. "Do you know why my people became the Void Swarm? Dragons destroyed our homeworld, burned our cities, killed our families." Jake felt Hope's memories flowing through their bond. He saw the truth. Your people attacked first. You tried to enslave other races. The dragons stopped you. We brought order to chaos, the creature said. The dragons brought destruction. The only destruction I see is what you've done, Ben said. Faith was growing angry, and her power was affecting all the machines in the room. Screens began to flicker. The creature stood up. It was huge, with 4 arms and weapons built into its body. No matter. You 3 are children playing with forces you cannot control. My fleet will destroy this world and end the dragon line forever. Not. If we stop you first, Jake said. The battle that followed was unlike anything Jake had ever experienced. His bond with Hope let him move faster than should be possible. When the creature shot energy beams at him, Hope deflected them with her power. Ben and Faith worked together to turn the ship's own defenses against the creature. Weapons that should have protected the command center began firing at their former master. Steve and Courage were the key to victory. Courage could see the future, showing Steve exactly where to move and when. Together they anticipated every attack, but the real surprise came when all 3 dragons combined their powers. Hope, Faith, and Courage had been learning from each other. Through their bonds with the humans, they had become something completely new. Impossible, the creature gasped as its weapons failed one by one. Dragons cannot work together like this. These dragons can, Jake said, because they learned it from us. The 3 dragons created a combined psychic field that reached out through the entire swarm fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every biomechanical creature felt their power. But instead of destroying the swarm, something unexpected happened. The dragons began to heal them. Jake felt Hope's compassion flowing through their bond. She wasn't just disrupting the machines. She was freeing the organic parts. The creatures that had been forced to become biomechanical slaves were being given a choice. All across the fleet, swarm soldiers began to remember who they had been before. The mechanical parts fell away like old bandages. Underneath were people, from dozens of different species, all victims of the swarm's forced conversion. "What are you doing?" the creature in the command center asked. Its voice was changing, becoming more alive and less mechanical. "Giving you back your freedom," Jake said. The creature's metal parts began to fall off. Underneath was a being that looked almost human, but with blue skin and large eyes. It fell to its knees, crying. "I remember," it said. "My name was Zeph. I had a family. Children. The swarm took us all and made us into machines." Throughout the fleet, the same thing was happening. The Void Swarm was remembering how to be alive. Some ships began to leave, carrying their freed crews back to their homeworlds. Others stayed, wanting to help repair the damage they had done. Dr. Barnes's voice came over the radio from the planet below. "Jake, you need to see this. The dragon babies aren't babies anymore." Jake looked down at Hope. She was now the size of a small building, her scales shining like stars. Faith and Courage had grown just as much. "We did it," Ben said, still amazed by everything that had happened. "No," Jake said, feeling Hope's thoughts in his mind. "We just started. There are other dragons out there, hidden and afraid. And there are more species that need protection." Steve smiled as Courage showed him images of the future. "I can see it. Humans and dragons working together, exploring the galaxy, protecting everyone who needs help." Jake thought about the mother dragon who had trusted them with her children. She had died believing that humans would protect the innocent. Now her children were grown and strong, ready to carry on that mission. "What do we do now?" Ben asked. Jake looked out at the stars beyond the ships. Somewhere out there were worlds that needed protection, people who needed help. "Now we do what humans do best," Jake said. "We explore, we help, we protect those who can't protect themselves." Hope spread her massive wings and roared. It was a sound of joy and freedom that echoed across space. The dragon couldn't save her young alone. But she didn't have to. She had humans to help her. And together, they were going to change the galaxy.